one place a critical mass of financial and related actors come together and create something that is considerably greater than the sum of the parts. And so I would say that a focus on financial centers is a very important one, because it is in financial centers that innovation is picked up and implemented by far more quickly than if you simply operate in the silo of the banking industry or the insurance industry or in the stock exchanges. So I don't know if that answers your question, but there was a very clear process when we established FC4S to decide where we ought to be. And some people said, well, London, of course, and New York, they're the places that are important. So most of the money flows through. But actually, the decision was taken that we would establish it in Geneva. Not simply because I happen to live here, that had very little to do with it, but because there was a very clear support from Geneva for taking this step, an understanding of how important it was, and also this unbelievable ecosystem surrounding the financial community here, which is invaluable. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, anyone, Maybrit and Nadia, anyone, you didn't address your question to any specific speakers, but anyone want to address those two interventions from the floor? From either side, it will help your case winning the debate.
You've got a rebuttal ready.
Okay, you have a rebuttal. Arthur, you want a quick reply?
I just want to agree with this extremely intelligent gentleman on the right-hand side, that financial markets are about aggregation and scale. And if you do not have aggregation and scale, you end up in small-scale silos. So I couldn't agree with you more, sir, in terms of the importance of aggregation in the financial markets.
Okay, in the interest of time, I will move on, because Paul, he has to travel. Are we still within time, Paul? Okay, so we move on to the rebuttal. Now that we've heard from the floor in which direction the wind of the public opinion is blowing, it's time for a short rebuttal for either side of the debate, which will be made by the first speaker from either side. And may I remind you, the two team captains, that the rebuttal may not last more than 1 minute from your side, and you'll get 3 minutes because you are under-numbered. So shall we let the...
We have 2.
You get 2 and you get 4 then. Okay, who wants to start? Yeah?
Age before beauty.
You know, in a court of law, it's about the law. And in a debate of this sort, it's about the motion. Let me remind you that the motion was, this House believes that Switzerland is and will remain ranked as one of the world's leading and most competitive financial centers. We're not saying that Geneva is perfect. Arthur, you kept making the point that we're not there yet. Well, we concede that point. We're far from being there yet. But the question is not so much whether Geneva has solved all the problems and presents us now with a perfect financial center based on sustainability. It is that it recognizes the importance of it and the ambition. And so there's a famous Les McCann, Eddie Harris song called Compared to What? So yeah, Geneva has a ways to go. But in terms of the motion, as a leading financial center, how do you compare Geneva with the opposition? So the other thing you kept insisting on is that good things are happening elsewhere. Conceded, absolutely. Nothing to do with the motion, but conceded. And working with these financial centers around the world, I can tell you that some of the most amazing innovation is taking place in the least likely places, like Shenzhen or Kigali or Abidjan. So I get the point that Geneva hasn't cornered the market on sustainable finance. But I also say that sustainable finance is not just about the behavior of the financial actors. It's also about the other elements of the ecosystem. Sustainable finance is finance, but it's also sustainable development. And unless we can bring that community in a very central way, we will not succeed. The Credit Suisse was mentioned. I would like to suggest that if Credit Suisse had taken the message of sustainability a bit more seriously, it would have stayed out of the trouble that finally brought it down. So my final point is this, Mr. Chairman. I threw out a challenge at the beginning of the debate saying, I think that as a financial center, Geneva and Switzerland more generally are unique in the ecosystem that they draw together. I challenged the team to come up with an alternative uniqueness, and it wasn't done. So, Chairman, I rest my case.
if you can keep it to 3 minutes, Arthur, then
I think it should be 2, actually.
2 minutes.
I can understand, ladies and gentlemen, why they only want us to link us to 2 minutes. I'm standing here because I want you to look at this problem differently. This, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a banker, you know that one thing happens. It is through aggregation, it is through scale. This jurisdiction is riven by silos. Riven by the silos of capital, riven by the silos of the issues. We have created, ladies and gentlemen, headed and driven by Geneva, a sector that has very high marginal costs, very low marginal revenue, and very few annuity models. Now, the gentlemen opposite have said, you know, look what's happening. I'll take you an example. There is 180 billion in ODI, of which Switzerland gives only 5%. The problem in Wash alone is $1.6 trillion. $1.6 trillion. And yet I attend so many events here that argue that somehow blended value is going to get us there. It clearly is not in the scheme of things. We need to collaborate and score. And true, some of the tools are here. But the agenda, ladies and gentlemen, for the last 10 years has been set by GSG and London. That is the reality. And that, unfortunately, is what is happening. And unfortunately, London, the population of the City of London, people that work, is the same as the entire population of the city. In fintech, which is going to be the next major leap, Geneva is number 15, and Switzerland isn't even ranked in the top 20 of countries. There is a huge opportunity here, ladies and gentlemen. But it was not my words, but Mark's words, that used the word, this is a unique jurisdiction. This is a unique jurisdiction, ladies and gentlemen, but it is a precursor of a fragmented world that cannot solve our problems. And I urge you to vote you against this proposition, driven by what you know, madam, driven by what we see around us, the failure of how this system works. And if you vote for this proposition, you are voting for the status quo, which isn't acceptable.
Well, thank you for the speakers for taking part in this innovative way of debating in Geneva. Unfortunately, our technology has let us down, and someone made reference to the House of Parliament, and since we do not have time to have people leaving the room in order to count the votes, what we will do is, those of you who change your mind in favor of the pro-motion, if you can stand up and we can count how many of you were persuaded by the pro-motion. This is not about the absolute, but about who changed the opinion from the pre-debate until the post-debate. So, who changed your mind thanks to the excellent arguments from our 4 excellent speakers representing Geneva as the world capital of sustainable finance? Please stand up. Nope. I hope you all understood the motion, huh? Okay, let's see. How many of you, thanks to the excellent arguments from the outnumbered opposition team, how many of you changed your opinion? Please stand up. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think we have a unanimous decision that... Thank you so much, Paul. All the best. Travel safely, and we'll see you soon again. So Paul will not miss his gift, since it was a losing team. But he's still a winner. The guy in point, ESC in 2005. Give a hand to Paul Clements-Hunt. Thank you so much, Paul.
Michael, that was brilliant, and you should just continue it, and we were actually right.
Thank you, Paul. So, we have a little present here. Will the captain of the winning team also come up and receive the present? So while you open the present, let me just say a few words.
Madam Style.
That's for the captain, and for the team members, they each get a small booklet about the castle of Coppet that some of you visited earlier today, so you really can understand what is the spirit of Coppet. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for the first live Coppet debates. Our ambition is that during the remaining part of the year, our future Coppet free speech debates will be held every quarter, meaning that the second debate will exceptionally be held during the Building Bridges in Geneva on the 3rd of October. And the third and final debate in 2023 will exceptionally be held at the SIIA Impact Summit in Zug on the 9th of November. And finally, if we obtain sufficient financial support from the members of the Geneva and Halle ecosystem, this means that next year the debate series will return to Coppet, where we hope that we can organize this on a monthly basis. Consequently, allow me to ask you, well, that I can't, that's also part of that. So anyway, I would like to give the speakers a warm thank you for your participation. And yeah, can you give it a warm? Okay, now we move on to the culturally diverse part of the program, the musical moments. This evening we heard a lot of good argument as to why many of us have decided to make Geneva our home and workplace. However, one important argument was left out, at least when it comes to me personally, and that is the importance of music to our well-being and happiness, or more precisely,